Okay, same deal. We're going to factor it, then we're going to find the solutions. Now, if we want to factor this, we need to pull out that leading coefficient of 5, negative 5 rather, because negative 5 will divide all of these numbers. So pull that negative 5 out. What's left behind? X squared. If you pull a negative 5 out of a negative 50, it's like saying what's negative 50 divided by negative 5? Well, negative 50 divided by negative 5 is positive 10. So we have a plus 10x right there. And then we need to do negative 5 times what is negative 135. So we need to do a little division. So we want to divide 135 by 5. Does 5 go into 1? No. Does 5 go into 13? Yes. How many times? 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So subtract it. 13 minus 10 is 3. Drop the 5 down. 5 times what is 35? 5 times 7 is 35. So 135 divided by 5 is 27. So I have a plus 27 right there. So now we have this expression, and the question is, can we go any further? And the answer is no, not really, not with nice numbers, because factors of 27 could be 9, 9 and 3. 9 times 3 is 27. Then you could break 9 up again into 3 times 3. So 27 is just 3 times 3 times 3. And there's no way we can combine those 3's to give us a positive 10x. So we're not going to be able to factor this with nice integers. So I guess you just stop there. So you couldn't really solve this one by factoring. Because if you focus on this quadratic here on the inside, well, let's do a little quadratic formula and see what happens. X equals negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared is 100 minus 4 times a is 1 times c is 27. All over 2 times a is 1. All right. Well, what happens? Well, what's 4 times 27? 27 and a 4. 4 times 7 is 28. So 2 there. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 2 is 108. So this problem becomes x equals negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 100 minus 108. Well, 100 minus 108 is negative 8. So we have that divided by 2. And look, we have a negative inside the square root, which means imaginary solutions, which means not going to be able to factor with real numbers. So you can't really factor this one any farther than just pulling out that negative 5. So you got to be careful with that. If we were to continue simplifying this, I would say x equals negative 10 plus or minus 8 is 4 times 2, which means I could pull out square root of 4 is 2 times that 2 that remains. And I'm going to pull out the negative by writing my I out front. Now that's all over 2, which means x equals negative 10 over 2 is negative 5, plus or minus 2 over 2 is 1, so I'm just left with the square root of 2, times I would be the solutions to this quadratic. If you're looking in the answer key, I believe the answer in the answer key for this problem is actually incorrect for 12C. First off, you wouldn't solve this problem by factoring. You'd have to use quadratic formula, or I guess technically you could consider, you could complete the square and then do it that way, but I would use quadratic formula. But you should get this answer. You shouldn't get the 5 plus or minus square root of negative 27 like it says on the answer key. You should get this.